Sahana Bhavatu Sahanao Punaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Seem to have a very, very low voice today. So, yes, Chris, I believe it is March 13th. Janani is just, ahead of the game. What game? We don't know. And ahead of what? We don't know. So I'm not sure that makes any sense. Janani was trying to confuse everybody, so it's actually on March 13th, okay? Huh? Maya. Yes, I've got the Maya jacket on, okay? So let's chant through the first two verses. If my people here, the support people here can help out, and we'll chant through them together, okay? Only, having said that, I need to find a text that I can read. So let's see if we can do that. Yeah, I just need it in a different script. Okay, ready? Ashochanan vashochastvam prajnavadamscha bhashase gatasunscha nanushochanti panditaha. Hang on, we have to flip some pages here. You all just have to look down one place. Veda vinashinam nityam yaenam ajamavyayam katam sapurushaf pata kam katayanti hantikam. So we'll stop there and we'll do the third one in a minute, the third of the 10 voice verses that we're going to go through. So we ended up last week. Where did we end up? Does anybody remember? And if you don't, that's okay too. Memory is not overrated, but it's not always, when you've got so many classes going and we're all teaching, it's all running nicely along together. Neither the weapons can destroy the Atma, that's it, nor the water can drown. Exactly. So we can't destroy Atma. And it's not that any of us really want to try to destroy Atma, but no matter what we come up with, no matter how many gory movies, no matter how much, what do they call that? Science fiction, I think it is. The Atma cannot be destroyed, right? Swamini was talking about these little mosquitoes the other day, right? And they're carrying this new Zika disease. And then she was talking about malaria, and we were talking about that. And what was coming into the mind, which it wouldn't have been appropriate to share in the middle of Swaminiji's class, but now we can talk about it, is, not even these little mosquitoes, they cannot do anything to Atma. But what came into the mind was this movie, The War of the Worlds. This might be aging oneself a little bit. I think this goes back a few years. But this War of the Worlds, if any of you are familiar with that, it was the little microbes, I think, right? The little bacteria and at that level anyway of things that were amoeba. Yes, those little tiny bacteria, little virus like germs and things. It was those that ended up destroying the as though Jagat, right? But as we are now starting to understand, Atma is really the truth of who this so-called individual, all these people listed here, all the people sitting in front, that is the truth of all of this is Atma. We know that these little amoebas and these little mosquitoes, etc., it can't do anything to who the real I is, okay? So that much we are aware of at this point, but it's very interesting to watch this evolve, as Swamini was saying, the Mother Maya has her own way of taking care of things. You know, if there are supposed to be some collective karma that manifests, you know, if we try and stop it by finding out this cure or this particular way of outwitting the mosquitoes, they're going to find another one that will actually outwit us. So Mother Maya cannot be outwitted by us. So that's what we were talking about, the destruction of Atma and how we can't destroy it. That's a good thing, right? Because if we destroyed Atma, one, none of us would be sitting here. That wouldn't be very much fun. And then the other piece of it, of course, I shouldn't say the other piece, but you know, we wouldn't be sitting here. What to say of happiness and having this happiness that it is that we're all seeking. So I'm looking at these notes. I made some notes today. I'm realizing that this has got nothing to do with what we're speaking about now. So let's see if we can find the notes about what we're speaking about now. Okay. Oh, that's right. We're going to be talking all about desire today. We're going to be talking all about we talked a little bit about happiness, but that non-demanding mind. And today is the perfect day to talk about that, okay? So we've talked about this Atma. It's not, we can't destroy it. So, okay, wonderful. We can't destroy it. And what I know about this Atma is that Atma is the truth of me, and I know that happiness has to do with knowing this truth of me. So how exactly is it that this knowing this Atma and helping me understand this Atma is going to bring about that truth? And so that's addressed in our next verse, which is verse number 55 in the second chapter, or if you happen to have the sheet of paper in front of you that was on the website, it is verse number 3. So in this one, let me see on the handout, do we say no? And of course, all of these are Bhagavan Uvacha, okay? This is this verse coming up. Arjuna had actually just asked. He'd asked for the description of the wise person, and this is a verse where he you know, at this point, Bhagavan Krishna has unfolded a lot of the vision. And so now Arjuna is kind of like we are. Okay, well, that's great. And why is it that it's important that I know Atma in order to get this elusive happiness that is not coming to me right now as I'm slumped down on the floor of the chariot in the middle of the battlefield, and there's conch horns blowing everywhere and elephants trumpeting, and it's getting quite dusty because all the horses are like, jumping up and down, getting kind of edgy, wondering when something's going to happen. Great, okay, Atma, know this Atma, but how's that going to bring me the happiness? So this is the question he asked, is give me the description of the wise man. So he's trying to figure out, what is it about this wise man? What is it about someone who knows this Atma that's going to, why is it that that person who knows this Atma has this happiness and is doing a lot better than me, crouched down on the floor of the chariot, hiding from everything, pretending that it's not me standing here in front of all of my teachers' family, etc. And so that was the verse before that one. So with that, we will chant it, and then we'll have a look at it. Prajahati yata kaman, prajahati yata kaman, sarvam partamano sarvan partavamano atmanyevatmana tushtaha, atmanyevatmana tushtaha, Stita prajnastatutochyate. Stita prajnastatutochyate. So going through it first, let's just look at the actual words that we have here. So Pata, oh Arjuna, Pata, family of Pata, okay? And then Tushtaha. So satisfied. Tushtaha, nice dhatu. Tush dhatu is a nice dhatu to remember. Why? Because it means satisfied, content. And so this is always a nice, it's nice to remember some of these words in Sanskrit. Some of the other ones, like Papa and things like that, and ones which talk about suffering, we don't so much maybe want to remember, but this one's a nice one to remember, okay? So tush dhatu. So satisfied. What is satisfied, or who is satisfied? The stitik prajna, okay, the one who is the wise person, if you like. And this is another nice word. That stita there comes from which dhatu? Does anybody know which dhatu? Of course you all do, because it's the one that we always, Swamini Ji always has lots of words in English for this one. Like station, yes. Yes, tha dhatu. So the one who's like firm, who's standing firmly in the knowledge, okay? And Swamini Ji always talks about how the star dhatu must be the root of so many English, words. Stay, the station where something comes to a halt, like usually we're talking about a train or a bus or something. Other ones, standing, yes, stand. That's it, firm, steady, yes. The actual dhatu, the Sanskrit dhatu is actually star dhatu, okay? Often masquerades as tishtati, for instance, he, she, it stands or stays. So, but here it's got this ayan. We won't get into the grammar of it, but so the person who's firm in the knowledge, the one who's firm in the knowledge, that person is satisfied. What is he satisfied in? Atmani eva atmana. He's satisfied in himself. He's perfectly satisfied in himself and by himself. So he doesn't need any reason to be happy. He's not dependent upon anything for his happiness. He's just, he or she. Why always he, huh? Let's have some she's in here as well. He or she is perfectly happy just by herself, by himself, and with himself. And what are we talking about? We're not talking about being happy with this necessarily, this moaning, whining, complaining jiva. We're talking about being happy with understanding the truth of what that is. And we'll talk more about how that then manifests and how one can be happy with this moaning, whining jiva, okay? So then we have yada prajahati, okay? So prajahati, sorry. We're not, we're making this into a different tense or different word here. So prajahati, giving up, okay? So giving up, and yada, when. So when one gives up, when she or he gives up. Gives up what? Sarvan karman, okay? Oh no, all the desires. And Swamini Ji just talked about this the other day. You mean to say I've got to give up all my desires? How boring is life going to be after that? Oh, why am I coming to these classes? If someone had told me before that I was going to have to give up all of my desires, I wouldn't have signed up for this. I would definitely not be here coming up on halfway through this all. No, this isn't right. So I remember Swamini Ji talking at length about this the other day. So which desires are we giving up? Manogatan. So all of those desires that are obtaining are in the mind. Okay? So manas is the mind, and then that it's got that gam dhatu attached to it, okay? So we can say that have entered, gone into the mind. We can break that apart. So all those desires that have entered into the mind. How did they enter into the mind? And we'll be talking about all of those, okay? We'll be talking about all of this as it goes on. So, where did those desires come from? How did they enter into the mind? It's all Bhagavan, right? It's all one at the end of the day. So we can't be beating ourselves up, okay? So, manogatan, and then tada uchyate. So that tada there goes with the yada. So when one does what? When one prajahati, when one gives up all of the desires, then tada, then uchyate, then it is said. What is said? What is it said? What is said? Stitik prajnaha. Then it is said that is the wise person, okay? And that wise person is the one who is satisfied in herself. Wow, this is a big claim, huh? It's also a claim that one might think, my goodness, give up every desire. If you sit down and think about how many desires one has throughout the day, it's a little overwhelming. And for a fun exercise between today and tomorrow, or this evening or this morning and this evening, wherever you are, depending on what part of the world you're at, you can, as you go about your day, each action that gets performed, you can go and see, you can try and bring your mind back and look at what is driving that particular action, what's taking you to this particular way of behaving, talking in a certain moment, and you'll have a nice look at all of your desires that are driving all sorts of things. And the more you practice this, the more subtle the levels that you see all of this happening. It's quite fun, actually. So these desires, all of these desires, it's saying give up all of the desires that are obtaining in the mind. So we need to qualify this a little bit, okay? Because desires, they're actually quite useful to have, some of these desires. And I think we have talked about this a little bit. If there were no desire, would I get up and cook a meal to eat? Or perhaps we would all actually be grazing out on the front and back lawns, as Swamini often jokes about, especially here in Eugene, where there is a large preponderance of vegetarians, not only vegetarians, a lot of vegetarians who are vegan, not only a lot of vegetarians who are vegan, but who are also into this macrobiotic, because this is one way you don't cook anything. Raw foods. No, well, not macrobiotics. See, I have to get my diets correct. I obviously don't have the diets all down, but they're into raw foods. So this is huge in Eugene. So you can all come and visit at some time. We invite you to all come and visit and have the experience of that. Just don't expect to be able to graze on the front lawn and back lawn of the centre here that we teach from. Okay, what front and back lawn? We struggle. We have dandelions and moss. Not much. A few blades of grass here and there. Definitely no wheatgrass going around the building here, around the property. So this desire, it's useful, right? Who's going to get up and cook? We talked about, you're going to, what are you going to do? Yes, we're coming to the desire to study. Who's going to get up and cook every morning? Nobody's going to get up and cook. If the hunger didn't come, why get up and cook? Why dirty dishes that have got to then be washed and cleaned up? before we even get to that point, why get up to go to work? Because why do I go to work? I go to work to earn a paycheck so I can go to the grocery store, buy some groceries and have a roof over my head. So desires actually have their place, okay? So it's not that all desires have to be given up, and Bhagavan Krishna is not here saying, give up every desire, just sit in one place, don't do anything, okay? And how do we know that this is not what Bhagavan Krishna's intention is? One, because there's a verse a little bit later on that says, that talks about how that anyone who is in a position of teaching, or who is in a position where people are looking up to them, such as Arjuna, who is being talked to here, right? Anybody who is in this position has a duty to go ahead and to behave in a way that the people can follow, because people will follow a person of Arjuna's stature. Definitely Bhagavan Krishna, we all will follow. Swamini, we will follow. Puja Swamiji, so many people followed. So we all will follow people who we look up to, who we have some respect for. And so Bhagavan Krishna actually says, you know, what do I have to gain by doing anything? And yet here I perform, I am in action all the time. So this is actually said. So we know that this, you know, giving up all the desires is not a blanket statement saying you have to give up every single desire that there is, and just, you know, in that way you'll just sit quietly and the world will be a much more peaceful place. It's true, it would be a much more peaceful place. All of the humanity would be gone in short shrift, and you know, the animals, as far as we know, have not developed weapons of mass destruction and all of these things. So the world would probably be a quieter place. It would probably be a lot less polluted, and you know, maybe some things would be working differently. However, that is not how karma is unfolding, so that's not what's going to happen, and it's not what Bhagavan Krishna is talking about. So what is he talking about here? So desires have to be understood, and there are two types of desires. What are those two types? The main two types: binding desires and non-binding desires. We can't even say good and bad desires, because what is a good desire for one person may be a completely bad desire for the next person, right? So like we might say, oh, a good desire is to go and sit in class and study Vedanta. Huh? This is people were bringing this up here. The desire to study this course would not have happened if we had no desires. Very true, Nirmala. And I would say also that if we talk about good and bad, and we start, you know, saying that this desire is good, this desire is bad, we're going to get ourselves into trouble. Like I said, if, for instance, somebody coming into this course who had no adhikaratvam, didn't really have a desire to learn, but was just interested in seeing what it was that was being said without and had come in with a very critical mind and seeing things in a way because of not putting aside that critical mind, what was being said gets distorted. Somebody might come in and take something that was not meant away from this, and so that might not be such a good thing. I'm not saying that this gives anybody here an excuse to not come to class. And I'm also not saying that Vedanta, Puja Swamiji would often say Vedanta is for everybody, but within the teaching itself, there are places where it says, you know, you need to have some, there needs to be some filter on who to teach. It can sometimes become something that is, for those who aren't ready, it can be something that will have unexpected, let's put them like that, unexpected consequences, okay? And we do see this in the world with some of the the teachers who do not come from a particular lineage, right? We do see that they don't have the sampradaya behind them. So we see that some of the things that are being taught under the name of Vedanta are not necessarily the best things. So we can't really say good and bad desires. So we can talk about this binding and non-binding desire. So the desire to attend class, we'll go back to it, okay? So the desire to attend class, is that a binding desire or a non-binding desire? You know, and that, again, we can look at, I said you could go through your day and see how you behave at any given moment to see whether it's a binding or a non-binding desire. So it may be that you feel like, oh my goodness, I have to get into class, I have to be in class, I want my certificate, I've signed up for a certificate, I've got to be there, and something comes in your way and prevents you from getting to sit in front of the computer or get over to 1190 West 27th Avenue in Eugene on time for the class. And if that desire is binding, some not so great reactions may come up. Say you're driving across town and you're trying to get to where you can sit down and listen to the teaching, and a car pulls in front of you and then it creates some sort of accident, and so you're frustrated and the anger may come up. This is a binding desire, okay? It's not that it's not that the anger in and of itself is a bad thing. It's just that we know that is something that's telling us, it's indicating to us that there was some investment in having things turn out in a particular way, okay? So you guys are writing all kinds of notes here, and I will come back to them and address them. I realize I didn't do that last week, so we'll stop. When we stop, I will come back and just address these, okay? So this binding desire is going to, behind a binding desire is a desire for a certain outcome. It's an attachment, if you like, to the phalam, to the fruit, to the result of some particular action. So these are our binding desires. And Nirmala, you're right, raga deveshas drive these binding desires, because we can go on and say that there are two types of binding desires, right? And 2 types, oh my gosh, there's 2 types of desire, binding and non-binding. And why only one type of non-binding desire? And how come there's 2 of the kind that I don't want to have, which is this binding type? I'm sorry, but there are. And what are those? A desire for things which is going to drive us towards things, okay? Nivritti, all right, I want to get this, and then the other binding desire, I don't want that, okay? And that's like the ninja stance. Nivritti, that's it. Nivritti. Yeah, okay, I mixed them round, sorry. No, nivritti, I don't want it, right? And pravritti, going towards. I said it the wrong way around? Okay, it could be. The first one, okay, well, the first one was mislabeled. I said it the wrong way around. Pravritti, pulling it towards, I want that, okay? And the vritti, keeping it away. Sorry, I said it the wrong way around, without even being aware. So it's good there's people here to, make sure. So that's the 2 kinds of binding desires. So how do they look? So they're going towards something. I want to have something. I want to, I think we talked about an example. I'm walking down the street, and on the way back from the office, one's walking down the street and passes a shop which has this beautiful dress in. This does not probably go for some of the people here, but for some of the people, this one will make sense. Actually, it can make sense for everybody. You may want to get it for a partner or something like that, okay? Or a friend or a sibling. So I see this beautiful dress in the window, and I think, wow, that's really nice, and it's in one of those stores where there's never a price tag on. And so you walk on by, and forget about it. Next day you walk by the same store and you see the dress again, and it's like, wow, that color, you know, I think that would go really well with this pair of shoes that I have in my closet. And you just walk on and you go home. Day 3 rolls around and the dress is still sitting there in the store window, and you look at it and you say, oh, you know, there's that graduation coming up. You know, one of my children is graduating, and wouldn't it be nice if I had something nice to wear for that graduation? I really should have something nice to wear for the graduation. Mind you, not a wedding or anything. This is a graduation, you know, just to see the level that the mind will rationalize things out for you. And forget that the fact that it's at a rural college and we'll be standing outside in the field underneath a tent, and you know, I definitely won't be able to wear high-heeled shoes because the grass is probably going to be soggy because it's in a place which rains at this particular time of the year. But all of that put aside, that would be really nice for graduation. So you walk past again, 4th day, 5th day, that graduation, and the dress by this time, you know, is popping into your mind even before you leave the office. You're thinking about, oh, I wonder if the dress is going to be on display in the window still. So this is, now we've started thinking it before the window, you know, before actually the sense organs get to lay their, you know, bring that picture into the mind. And so let's say it's now the 7th, 8th day, and you think, what harm? I'm just going to go in and I'm going to try it on. And so into the store you go, you try it on, and guess what? It fits beautifully. Oh my goodness. You put it back because you ask how much it is, and they say something totally ridiculous, like 3 months salary, and you say, oh my goodness, and you put it back onto the shelf and you say, oh no, I can't do this. But it now is already in. It's in the mind, and it's pulling and it's pulling and it's building up, it's building up. And so of course, you know what ends up happening is that dress gets sold to somebody else in the very size that you wanted to get it on the day you went back and decided that you were going to buy it. Oh no, now what? You are so frustrated with yourself. Why didn't I buy it when I could have done? I could have put it on the credit card, and it's going to take them 3 weeks to get the next one in, another dress like it, and by that time the graduation will be over. Well, how's it? And you know, if my husband, if my spouse, or whoever it is, had not told me and had not said to me, you know, be careful about what you spend this month, I'd have just gone in and got it sent, and you know, got it immediately. And then pretty soon, if my boss had just let me leave 5 minutes earlier, I would have had the chance to go and get that. And so pretty soon, the thwarted desire is having an impact on not just you. We started with the beating up of oneself. It spread next to the significant other or anybody who's close in that way. Then it got to the boss. Believe me, some way this mind will find a way to rationalize that it's virtually everybody around you's fault, including your own, that this dress was not kept. So that is what is called a binding desire, and that is the impact that it can have on you. So you can imagine, these are not friendly desires. They are not great for relationships. They actually are detrimental for any kind of community building. They're not really good for work relationships or proving oneself to be a good employee or employer. So not very good. These ones are, these binding desires, like Bhagavan Krishna is saying, you know, one doesn't need these desires, and this is the kind of desires that he's talking about. Okay, it's not those that don't have any pull or hold over us. So that's the ones that we're going towards. Now, what about the ones that are keeping the ninja stance ones, the nivritti ones? So a nice example for that is, of course, sitting in a Vedanta class, and Swamini talks about this, and she says you can even do it when you're sitting online you know, and you can just see the names. You can have a quick scroll through the names, you know, like I'm doing right now. I don't know if you guys can tell, but you can have a quick scroll through the names, and then you see a name and you say, oh, well, why is that person sitting there? I know that person. I've seen them in so-and-so's class. They don't get anything there either. They ask the most ridiculous questions. Why is that person in this class? This is not about any of you online, okay? No, this is just an example. Definitely not to do about anybody. We have to, you know, be careful what we say, because somebody might sit there and come into class late and think that we are actually talking about somebody online. We're not, okay? So this is a nivritti. I don't want that person to be there. The rest of the class gone, completely gone. Why? The mind is off and running. Why is that person sitting there? And if they, you know, they didn't learn anything in the last class, and if they ask that question, I'm going to be so mad because they were told the answer to that question. What was that question anyway? And then it goes. The mind is just jumping from tree to tree to tree, like a monkey. Okay, maybe not trees, but the mind is jumping from thought to thought to thought. And pretty soon it's Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachate, and suddenly, you know, the head shakes. Oh, what happened? Oh, okay, all right, well, there'll be class tomorrow. Thank goodness this is being recorded. So this is nivritti, okay? Both of these can have exactly the same effect. You know, one story is coming to mind that Puja Swamiji used to tell about the mind. So we'll share that with you, because anything Puja Swamiji said is worth sharing. So he used to talk about the nature of the mind and how it just jumps around so much and it's so hard to follow the thoughts. And so in India, any of you who have grown up in India or are in India now, the people who what do they call, harvest the coconuts, they will go up one tree at the beginning of the morning, early in the morning, and they will go up and they will chop down the coconuts from that tree, and in many places they're planted close enough together that they can throw a rope over to the next one and go across instead of shimmying all the way down the tree and then going back up the trees. They have these spikes on their feet in order to do this. So this is apparently, they didn't do this at the ashram because the trees weren't close enough. They had to go up and down the trees. They always did it when we were in class, but more on that later. Probably because otherwise we'd all stand there, especially the ones of us not from India, looking up saying, wow, look at them all the way up there. That looks really kind of unsafe. And then thud, you know, coconut. Let's not go any further than that, okay? So anyway, the coconut harvester would go up one tree at the beginning of the morning and then go from tree to tree to tree, just chopping down all of the coconuts. And then come lunchtime, when the hunger bell went off inside the stomach, would come down the tree. Now, which trees, where had the coconut harvester been all morning? Only the coconut harvester knew if the coconut harvester's mind was actually engaged, because in the afternoon he or she has to go back up the tree, right, and go to the trees which have not been harvested. And that's what the thought does. It goes up on one tree, it goes off on one thing, catches hold of one thing, and off it goes, running all the way around a forest of trees. And it can land in a completely different spot, which is what the coconut harvester usually does. It lands in a completely different spot from where it took off. And just, well, how did we get here? And pretty soon, one standing in the next room wondering, what did I come in here for? Could somebody remind me what was going on? Is this all sounding familiar? How do we get to here from pravritti nivritti, okay? Non-binding desires, okay? So the mind with these desires that are binding can take you for a long, long ride. Sometimes days. So these binding desires are the one that Bhagavan Krishna is talking here about giving up, okay? It's not the non-binding desires. And we can see, we talked about Bhagavan Krishna and always being, they're being always in action. To who? I need to go back and clarify this. To who is Bhagavan Krishna in action with? To who does it look like any wise person is in action, or is doing action? To the one who is not a jnani, okay? For anyone who understands the truth, exactly James, and ajnani, for anyone who understands the truth of themselves, then that person is going to see that there is this is where we say you see actionlessness in action, okay? So just to make sure that none of us are thinking that Bhagavan Krishna is standing there saying, yeah, I'm the one driving the chariot right now, and Arjuna, you need to get up so that I can do my job properly, because if you don't get up, it's going to make me look really bad, because here I've come out here and you're not doing what you're supposed to do now. So no, that's not what we're talking about, okay? So these binding and non-binding desires. So a lot of times we will say, if I get my way, I will be happy. So some of the examples we've used, if I get to class on time, or if I get to watch the class live and don't have to resort to watching a recording, I'm going to be happy. So, okay, go ahead. Both of you switch to the live stream. It should be up and running. And or you can try logging in and out of here. It's not a problem, because Kavita, who's doing there, she's auditing the classes, sometimes from recording when she can't be in them personally, and she will know that you've been here, okay? She's doing the attendance. That's the word I'm looking for, okay? So, and if it doesn't work on live stream, you can go ahead and type in that box over there, and I'll try the box on live stream, and I'll try and catch that too. So Bhagavan Krishna is not doing anything, okay? Nothing at all. So these binding desires are the one we need to let go of. And if our desire is fulfilled, does it bring us happiness? And the answer to that question is no. See, I have two seasoned people in front of me, so so they can help me out here. If I get stuck, then I just have to look up, and I know I'm going to get what I need to know here. Okay, so is the desire fulfilled is not necessarily going to lead to happiness. It's not necessarily going to give us what it is that we are actually seeking. Oh no! So wait, you started the whole class saying that these desires, we started the whole class talking about desires causing us to act and, being binding. Then you said some of the desires were okay to have, so long as they weren't binding. But now you're telling me that even if I do get what I want, what pushed me into action to help fulfill the desire, even if I get that, I'm not going to be happy. Oh no, this is just too much. So do I act or do I not act? To act or not to act. It's a take on Hamlet, right? To be or not to be. To act or not to act. So go ahead and act. It's no problem. No problem at all. Just know that don't be attached to your answer, to the results of what happened. So do we not get short-lived happiness? Of course, you can have short-lived happiness, and everybody can go ahead and can have short-lived happiness. But actually, you have to recognize that even that short-lived happiness is not about the object. Okay, And so this is what we have to recognize. Because let's take the nice example of the person who has never had a milkshake. This person is a miser, okay? And he's always wanted to have one of these milkshakes. In India, we use this example, and I hope somebody can tell me what it is. A falufa? Falufa? What's the name of the drink? Faluda. That's it. Faluda. Yeah. So, so this faluda is, a tall, cool drink, and I believe it's milk based. I never had one the whole time that I was over in India. Okay, it wasn't from being a miser. It was just that we didn't serve faluda at the ashram. Okay, and I was living in the ashram. So there was a miser. He'd heard all about these faludas. He'd even seen these faludas, and so he decided, I am going to have one of these. I am going to spend the money for one of these faludas. So he went down into the city. He went to a place where he had heard that faludas were the best ones that were possibly available, and sat down and went through the menu. I think you can get maybe different kinds, and if you can't, we're going to just extend the example a little bit more, and we're going to say that you can get different kinds. So he went through the faluda menu, and he picked, there we go, he picked the rose faluda, okay? And he said, this is the one, I am going to have this one. And so he sat waiting. After ordering it, the faluda came beautifully displayed, all in a nice, one of those glasses that goes up like this, I had its little umbrella to make sure that the sun didn't, warm it up too quickly. He was sitting in the air conditioning, but, still the thing had its umbrella on, okay? And it had a little straw sticking out of it. And the man, that in itself was just such a wonderful thing. This desire. He's had this desire for so long, and finally he's decided that, yes, we can set aside the 30 rupees for this. And so it sits down with that faluda, and so he says, I can only imagine what this is going to taste like. And so takes a little sip, hits the tongue, just everything's dancing in the mouth. The mouth is just, so happy. And Swamini often jokes, it's this 3-inch little fella that lives inside the mouth here that drives a multi-billion-dollar restaurant industry, catering and restaurant industry. So the little tongue, it's just so happy. That was so good. And his eyes are closed as he savors this. And he leans forward and he takes another sip and he opens his eyes. What happened? He's suddenly absolutely stricken. Oh no! All that happiness starts dissipating. Why? Because the faluda's going down. Every time he takes a sip, the faluda is going down. That means it's going to come to an end. So you can see that even when we get what it is that we're desiring, it does not necessarily mean that one is going to be happy, okay? And the happiness can be very, very short-lived, as in one sip of the faluda. It can last sometimes a little while longer. Another example that Swamiji gives, and this is based on something that a story that he told. He said over a period of years, there was a young man that would come to him and say, Swamiji, I just want to get married. Could you help me find a bride? I really, really want to get married. And this went on for a period of, I think about 5 years. And so this was a long-term desire, and he just really wanted to get married. And Swamiji Puja Swamiji did not want to be one, doing matchmaking. So he just kept telling the person, yes, this will happen. I will pray for you, and this will happen. And so finally, the man came back to him after about 6 months one time, and he said, Puja Swamiji, wonderful news. I got married. Oh, congratulations, said Puja Swamiji. Another 6 months goes by. What happens? The man comes back and he says, Puja Swamiji, this marriage thing, I had no clue. I had no clue it was going to turn out to be like this. But I need your advice now. How can I be married and be happy? And so, you know, we have these desires. We may think it's going to provide some sort of happiness. We may think that this is going to give me happiness. But what happens? The anxiety, it comes back very, very quickly. So happiness not really based in that object. It's really based, as Swaminiji talked about the other day, there's a time element to it, there's a place element to it. And what a time and place, it's all mithya, right? So we know that if we want that happiness, which is the one that we're all seeking for, the one that is not going to go away, the one that is not going to fade, the one that is not going to morph into well, I loved you, but now I just kind of like you. And now it's getting the stage where, you know, I'm not even sure I can say I really like you. And then, you know, I really don't think I want to see you at any time. I need space, as Swaminiji says. You know, this ever-changing idea of happiness is firmly located in space and time, which is mithya, and it's not what we're looking for. We're looking for something that is permanent. We're looking for something that is here, now, and that is not going to go away. So what is it that makes us happy? What is it that we know about ourselves when we are happy? And we can get a clue of that from the verse, okay? So, Atmani eva atmana, so in himself and by himself. And like I said, we can put in herself and by herself. So we know that it's based on what? Not the objects. We know that it's based on the self. So we went around, we had fun with all the objects. We looked at dresses, we looked at faludas, we looked at spouses. We decided, you know, this is probably not a place that I'm going to find my happiness. And then we went back to the verse and said, oh, right here, how could we have overlooked this? It's right here. Thank goodness for Bhagavan Krishna, huh? Teaching us and telling us where to look. Thank goodness for the Vedas. Imagine a life without the Vedas, huh? So we see that this is something that is based on oneself. And so okay, how can I be happy with myself? And this is where we talk about that resolved mind, the non-demanding mind. So what is a non-demanding mind? It's a mind that is happy with things as they are. And in fact, it is not even the poor old mind. Why blame the mind? The mind is such a whipping boy for all of this. The mind is not really the cause of the happiness. This is what we have to understand, okay? But before that, the nature of happiness is this non-demanding mind. I don't want anything to be different from how it is now. When I'm in that space, and this is the meditation we talked about before, when Swaminiji says in the meditations, and you've all had some of these now, imagine a range of mountains. We're not sitting there, you know, moving the peaks that we're imagining around. Oh, you know, no, I should have placed this peak over here and this one over here, and that one doesn't have enough snow on it. Oh gosh, global warming. Yeah, that reminds me about, and you know, I never got to go skiing this winter. No, we're not doing any of that, okay? We are imagining a range of mountains without thinking that this is wrong, this is right, this needs to look like this one needs to be taller, this one needs to be shorter. Oh, if only the sun were coming up behind it, it would make it all the more beautiful. No, the mind at that time is completely happy. It's completely accepting of what is, not wanting anything to be different. So that's one of the things that takes us away from the happiness, is wanting something to be different. And the other thing that takes us away from happiness, of course, is wanting to obtain or keep something away from ourselves. You know, that idea that I'm the one who's wanting, whether it be pravritti or nivritti, I'm the one who's wanting. That split comes in, and suddenly that mind is a demanding mind. Okay, all right, so you want this. Remember we talked at the beginning of the class, you take any one desire and you look at all the actions that will manifest around that. So I want this one thing. Let's say it happens to be in the refrigerator, and you're not right by the refrigerator, that you can't just lean over and, so that's going to propel one up out of the chair that one's sitting in. One's going to then be walking across the floor, and let's say that there's something that's sticky on the floor that reminds you that, oh my goodness, I need to wash the floor. Oh, frustration is going to build. So again, all of this is because of the demanding mind is wanting at this point to have something different from what is going on right now. So this mind, even though it's not the cause of happiness, the demanding mind, whether that be for something to be different or whether that be for wanting to obtain or keep something away, that is the cause of the unhappiness, okay? So, put a note here. In the beginning of relationships, everything seems happy, but we talked about that, the marriage. I want to be married, and within 6 months. So how does this person get to have this non-demanding mind? Oh no, it's not given in this verse. Oh, it just tells us that the person is satisfied in themselves and by themselves. It doesn't tell us how. That's because we're going to be looking at that a little later on, okay? So for right now, all we're going to know is that the mind is not the cause of our happiness, and we're going to look at the fact that everything is given in the creation. But we're going to do that next week and finish right here, because I am going to do what I promised, and that's go through all the little messages here. Not next week, sorry, tomorrow. That's tomorrow. That next week was supposed to come out tomorrow, okay? So we'll finish right here, and then we'll pick this up tomorrow, and I'll look through the notes here. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Hari Om. Wonderful, Nirmala. Well, class ended. See, that must have been some sankalpa there. See how it works out? You had to leave early and we finished early. So let me just look back. There were some things up here, I think. And I'll scroll back down in a minute and just make sure. Desires, attitude with which we interact with others. It does, desires do, and this is Nirmala, and I know she's had to leave. I don't know if she's left already, but yes, desires do impact how we interact with each other. For instance, if one is, late for something, like we were talking about, late for getting to class, late for an appointment, and something comes in between oneself and that appointment, that contributes to that lateness, then we may not interact with a person in the way that we would like to think that we would otherwise. And this is one of the beautiful things that we see with our teachers, why we all enjoy being around our teachers so much, because those desires are all managed. So one of the things that Puja Swamiji used to tell us regularly was that he always, in the beginning, when he first started teaching, was always on time to class, and he liked to be on time for class. that was his sankalpa, was to always be on time for class. However, as the ashram grew up and more and more people started to come, Pujya Swamiji would never say no to anybody coming to see him. The people around him would shut the doors at a certain time, but if there were people who had been waiting to see him up until the time he was supposed to leave for class, he would go ahead and see those people. And he didn't want to hurry them through. And he always had that space to talk to them, to let them share what it was they needed to share. Whereas you or I might, it's like, oh my goodness, I don't want to be late for class, so sorry, no, can't do this now, but I'll get back to you later, And so this is one of the reasons that we really love to spend with our teachers, because they don't have that need, if you like, that push in order to be doing something else other than what's unfolding right at that time for them. So it does definitely impact how we interact with others. Impure tamasic desires, which cover the understanding of oneself, carry one away. That's true, James. We were talking about this with Swamini too. I think it was last week as well. So we were talking about this in the Amrita Bindu Upanishad, and the desires, you can say impure, but I want to again stress that it's not necessarily that the desire itself is impure. Obtaining a dress, how can we say it's pure or impure? And for instance, for some people, they need to eat salt in their diet because they have very low blood pressure. For other people, salt is like a death knell because their blood pressure is so high. So we have to be careful on how we utilize our words with regards to that. And the tamasic desires, sometimes those can be helpful too, as Swamini was talking about, I believe, just last night. She was talking and saying that we all need to sleep. So that desire for sleep, because of this body, we have to deal with this body-mind-sense complex. Because of that, then the desire for sleep, it can be helpful, it helps us get some sleep when we need to go to sleep. And anyone who has raised children knows the results of not getting sleep, and prays for the tamas to actually be the desire that's conquering all other ones at certain times of the day and night, because the children tend to try and keep themselves up, toddlers tend to try and keep themselves up, and it doesn't end up being very good. The desire to study this course, non-binding in terms of jnana, because it tends towards knowledge and to the ever-free self. Yes, it's definitely, yes, non-binding. That is the reason why we definitely are looking into the desires and working towards becoming, seeing desires, letting go of the results rather of the actions that we may do in order to fulfill a desire. If you have to ask how much, you can't afford it. If you can't, I like that one. Let's see, we did that one. I'm just scrolling down. Perhaps overindulgence in sleep should be pointed out instead. Yes, and that was one that Swamini addressed, wasn't it? She said sometimes too much sleep, too much sleep cannot be good as well. And it actually, it can often point to needing some, getting some help through a therapist, in the vyavaharic level. Sometimes overindulgence in sleep can point to depression, so it does need to be looked at. But yeah, the desire for oversleeping, yes. Pujya Swamiji used to tell us, sleep, this is a big thing for all of us who study, and Pujya Swamiji used to tell us at regular intervals, because everyone on these courses we were all great mumukshus turning into jignasus, and so we would all stay up at all hours of day and night, you know, and then do these catnap things in order to get through everything. And he said, no, he said, I want all of you to be getting, this is why we finish at 9 o'clock at night, and temple started at 5 in the morning. And he said, you're supposed to finish here in satsang. And usually he would end with some bhajan or something like that, so that everybody was, you know, nice, relaxed, and go to sleep, and then you sleep through until you're however long you needed in the morning, 4:30, and then get up and do your day again. But so he used to remind us all regularly that we should do that to get enough sleep. So I encourage all of us to get enough sleep. And if that means sleeping in small chunks, so that's okay too, because they say that the natural human state is to do 2 4-hour stretches of sleep a night, is what they say, that there's a natural waking up time. Some of us just sleep straight the way through, but they do say that. Okay, so I will look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. And I want to thank, I don't know if she's still, Katrin, if you're still here. Yes, Katrin, you're still here. It was so nice to see your picture. And I have not done what I said, which was I sent your picture to Swamini, but I have not done what I said and asked her about the idea of gathering some pictures and, making them out. I think that probably is more of a, I'm thinking about culturally, I think that's more of a Western thing, is that we like to do that. But I will talk to Swamini about it, and we'll see if that's something that others might be interested in, and then we'll take it from there, okay? So have a good, we'll see, Swamini will see a lot of you for chanting, and I will see you tomorrow, okay?
So I always have a problem with this. I never have been able to get